dying isn't always about taking your last breath. Sometimes it's about continuing to breathe when everything inside you has already gone dark. And the cruelest part? That kind of death doesn't announce itself. It creeps in slowly, disguised as rest, 5 more minutes in bed, 1 more episode, 1 more scroll. And by the time you notice, you don't feel anything anymore. Not joy, not sadness, just the weight of a soul-dead routine. Time becomes a blur. Emotion becomes noise. And life, a distant echo of something you were supposed to be living. Then the phrase hits, "I can't die like this." Not as drama, but as an internal warning. A silent cry for help. This phrase doesn't come with sirens, hospitals, or coffins. It's born when your chest tightens, when a mirror doesn't lie, when a melancholic song slices through the silence at 2 a.m. That's when truth shows up. You're not dying, but you're not really alive either. You're just repeating, hiding, fading, and worst of all, accepting this pale version of yourself as if it's all you're meant to be. As if despair has become part of the emotional furniture. As if anguish moved in and never paid rent. But what if it's not over? What if you could flip that switch now, without needing to hit rock bottom? This video isn't just about pain. It's about rescue. About that spark still flickering inside you, begging for more. If you've ever felt that phrase echo in your chest, then this is your sign. Stay, because maybe this is the conversation you've needed most, even if you didn't know it. There are moments that don't scream, they beg. It's when your throat tightens, your chest aches, and the only thing that escapes is a muffled whisper, "I can't die like this." Death here doesn't have to be literal. It could be the death of a dream, of hope, of the will to keep trying. And the worst part? That sentence doesn't come with an audience or a dramatic soundtrack. It's lonely, cold, a personal expression soaked in anguish, despair, a desperate plea for redemption when everything seems to have lost meaning. You know that moment when someone lays their head on the pillow and silently explodes inside? That's when the phrase surfaces. Because the truth is, it hurts to realize that life has become a soulless sequence. A routine with no thrill, no fire, no spark. And the regret doesn't come only from what was done, but mostly from what was left undone. The love poorly given, the dreams postponed out of fear, the parts of yourself you buried just to survive. And so, without even speaking it aloud, symbolic death creeps in like a melancholic song stuck on repeat. So many people live as if they're just waiting for the end, without realizing they're already leaving, little by little, day after day, without presence, without courage, without expression. And that's exactly when this phrase hits with full force. It's not an ending, it's a rupture, a warning, a cry for change. Because no one wants to die in the middle of an existential crisis without ever having truly felt alive. And maybe, just maybe, there's still time to change that. But for that to happen, you have to face what's missing, or maybe what's overflowing. Some things can't be explained, only felt. It's that haunting sense that something was left behind. A letter that was never written. A hug that was never given. A love that slipped away without a fight. The refusal to die like this comes from that emptiness. The emotional death of someone who never got to close the chapters that truly mattered. And here's the thing. That kind of regret doesn't just show up on a hospital bed. Sometimes it sneaks in during a long shower, a sleepless night, or a melancholic song that hits the soul without warning. The truth is, every human being has that one place that hurts more than the rest, the thing they should have done but didn't. And when that wound reopens, it doesn't bleed outward, it implodes. That's why the phrase, "I can't die like this," sounds less like fear of death and more like a quiet plea for redemption. Like someone saying, just give me a little more time, not to exist, but to truly live. A little more time to forgive, to ask for forgiveness, to finally do something that feels alive. And once you understand that, everything starts to shift. What's worth your time? What deserves your energy? What can still be repaired? Because this isn't about wanting to live forever. It's about refusing to leave with the feeling that nothing you were ever really mattered. And if this hits you right now, maybe it's because there's still something inside you begging to be done, said, felt, before the next line fades away. Some people aren't dying, but they're not really living either. They wake up at 11, maybe noon, no hunger, no urgency, no purpose. The dark room has become an emotional cave. The phone? Anesthesia. It's scroll up, video down, and the soul stuck somewhere between boredom and despair. Every day seems to begin and end the same way. No memory, no emotion, barely aware that it even happened. Repetition becomes routine, and the routine becomes a kind of living death. And the craziest part? It doesn't even hurt at first. In fact, it's comfortable. But it's the kind of comfort that comes at high cost. Because when you spend too much time staring at the screen, you stop facing the mirror. Ever seen someone lose themselves in a series? Someone who disappears from the real world just to hide behind a timeline full of lives that aren't theirs? That's it. The existential crisis starts quietly, like a melancholic song playing in the background, until one day it screams. Aren't you going to get up? If you want to start getting out of it, start like this. Put your phone on airplane mode for 1 hour. Just one. Sit on the porch. Listen to the sounds around you. Grab a piece of paper and write down a memory that moved you. Pick up a book that stirs your heart. Something like The Old Man and the Sea or The Death of Ivan Ilyich. Start small, but start. Because what kills you inside isn't sleep. It's the dreams you stop chasing. And sometimes, all it takes to wake up is to remember that there's still time to break the loop. It's a strange thought that someone can reach the end of the line with so much still trapped inside their chest. But it happens more often than you'd imagine. There are people who live for years in a lukewarm existence, collecting regrets, swallowing tears, pretending to be strong. People who did everything right, but feel like they forgot to actually live. And when they finally notice, life has become a photo album with barely any memorable pages. The phrase, "I can't die like this," shows up as a kind of final cry. Not from someone who wants to start over from scratch, but from someone who just wants a real beginning. And that's when the desperation hits, not from fear of death, but from the realization that there hasn't been enough life to justify the end. That most days were spent on autopilot instead of being present. That time was wasted trying to please everyone but their own soul. The person realizes they didn't express themselves enough, didn't feel enough, didn't make bold mistakes or love with truth. It's like their existence slipped through their fingers, and now all they want is time. Just a little more. Not to travel the world, but to fix a gesture, to say they're sorry, to send the letter that was never written, to finally be who they were meant to be before everything fell apart. If this hits something deep inside you, maybe it's because there's still a chance to avoid reaching that point. You don't have to wait for the end to seek reconciliation with yourself, with others, with life. You can start today with a simple act. Write a message to someone you love but never really told. Call the person you pushed away without meaning to. Or look yourself in the mirror and ask, what haven't I done out of fear of looking weak? Redemption doesn't come in a cinematic explosion. It starts with small, sincere, and urgent decisions. Because the clock doesn't stop, and the pain of not having lived won't wait. Repetition, when unnoticed, becomes a prison. At first, it seems harmless, staying up late just one night, snoozing the alarm the next, skipping what matters just for today. But just today happens so often it becomes a lifestyle. And before you realize it, your life is stuck in a never-ending loop. You wake up the same, think the same, feel the same. Days turn into poorly copied versions of each other. And the cruelest part? The more you repeat that inertia, the harder it is to escape it. It's like sinking into emotional quicksand. The less you fight, the deeper you sink. The human mind loves repetition. It thinks it's protecting you, building routine. But when that repetition isn't driven by purpose, it becomes a sedative. And worse, it steals your emotion. Maybe that's why so many people feel empty without knowing why. On the outside, life looks organized. But inside, it's all on repeat. The same fears, the same mistakes, the same thoughts whispering, "I'll change tomorrow." The truth? Tomorrow never comes for those who keep running from today. And that, sooner or later, becomes desperation. Want to break the pattern? Change just one repetition a day. Start small. If you always wake up and reach for your phone, get up and drink a glass of water instead. Then, write down 3 things you don't want to repeat today. Simple stuff: complaining, procrastinating, eating out of anxiety. And just try to break the cycle. Because every repetition you challenge becomes a bit of freedom quietly being born inside you. And if it's hard, well, you already know that doing the same thing didn't work. So let's try different, even if it's just for one day. Now tell me this. Are you really going to keep living on autopilot like that's enough? Are you going to let your life become a sequence of repeated days, bottled up emotions, and postponed dreams? Or are you finally going to get out of bed with the courage of someone who realized it's still not too late to change everything? What would you do today if you knew for sure that you could still reclaim your story? Who do you need to talk to? What do you need to forgive? What do you need to start? Drop it in the comments. What's going to be your first step to break free from this emotional numbness? And if this video stirred something inside you, if it touched a part of you that's been forgotten for too long, don't save that feeling for later. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and stay close. Because everyone needs a wake-up call at some point, and maybe this one is yours.